Bane at your service. I'll take on any job for the right price.
Welcome to another episode of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and today we carry on our third episode of our in-depth character reviews where we look at Cad Bane. And so far on our little ranking table of Hall of Fame, we have Emperor Palpatine, who still sits high and mighty in the throne single-handedly for the Grand Master status, and Chief Nebbit recently just added into the Knight category. Where will Cad Bane stand? Stay tuned and you will soon find out. But as always, let's get right into it and talk about the history of Cad Bane, and he has quite an awesome history in the Star Wars universe. And Cad Bane was born on the planet of Duro, and Cad Bane quickly became the best and most sought out bounty hunter in the galaxy after the death of Jango Fett during the Battle of Geonosis. Although not specifically aligned with any particular faction due to the nature of a bounty hunter, and because Cad Bane would always say, "I'll take any job for the right price." But he is traditionally seen doing work for the Confederacy, the Sith, as well as Jabba the Hutt most frequently. Cad Bane is known for his specialty with dealing with Jedi, and in his career he managed to pull off many heists, ranging from stealing a holocron from the Jedi Temple to kidnapping Force-sensitive children, and even holding the Galactic Senate as hostage in order to free Zero the Hutt. Although the Clone Wars TV show ended before Season 7 could be released, there was leaked footage suggesting that Cad Bane is also responsible for taking Boba Fett under his wing to teach him the ways of being a deadly bounty hunter. And in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, we see that Cad Bane carries over some of his traits from the film, which enable him to have a variety of buffs against Jedi, and he also has a leader ability which reflects his elusive nature when escaping from his enemies. And like always, how do we know how to unlock this character? Well, I'll tell you, there are two ways to unlock him. Cad Bane used to be a Chromium exclusive character, but quite a few months ago he was finally added to the Galactic War shipments. So you can either roll your dice with Chromium packs and get a chance to get some shards with him, or you can just go to Galactic War, arguably one of the easiest ways to get 15 shards of a character a day, and you can get him from there. So now let's move past all that basic information and let's get to the bread and butter of our in-depth reviews. Let's talk about the stats of the character before mods are even in this situation. So Cad Bane, he actually boasts quite a few awesome traits. One thing is that he has the highest physical damage stat in the whole entire game. He is at 2,637, while the average sits at about 2,104. The lowest physical damage comes from the Tusken Shaman, and in case you did not know, this stat is used to calculate damage dealt by all physical abilities. So in essence, it is like the multiplier for calculating how high your physical damage attacks will be. Another great attribute of Cad Bane is that he is in the top 15% in terms of physical critical damage. The average is about 483, with Han Solo being at 1,192 and Emperor Palpatine being at 208. We can see Cad Bane in the top 15% at 680. Now, another important trait that I will not mention for every character because it is not important, but it is important for Cad Bane, and that is the Potency. The reason why I'm bringing up Potency is because one of his abilities requires him to stun other characters, and he is right on average with Potency. The average for Potency is 27%, and Cad Bane can be seen at 26%, and obviously not as near as Dooku, where he is at 75% Potency, and not nearly as low as Darth Sidious and Maul being at 0% Potency. Now, moving on to the next great attribute of Cad Bane is that he is close to the top 25% of maximum damage output. The average maximum damage output in this game, when considering all abilities a character can have, is 4,747. Rey being the highest at 10,087, the king of all output and damage, and the Rebel Pathfinder, the character of the month, sitting at 2,226. We see Cad Bane at 5,545 as his maximum damage output. He is also in the top 15% for maximum basic damage. So just solely looking at basic damages out of all the characters, we see General Grievous at 6,091 and the Gamorrean Guard at 1,636. With the average sitting at 3,849, we can see Cad Bane at 4,817 for his maximum basic damage, which is quite good. Now, let's move on to the cons, and there are quite a lot of bad cons to him, which is the reason why you will not see him as often in the current state of the game. Number one reason is that he is in the bottom 25% percentile when it comes to speed. The average speed in the game is roughly 121, 122, with Rey and Leia being at 164 and the Jedi Knight Guardian being at 85. We see Bane sitting at 107, so quite slow, quite close to the bottom. Another negative attribute of Cad Bane, which is another big one, he is in the bottom 10% in health, so he is not going to be taking that many punches. The average in this game is 16,511, with Royal Guard being the highest at 26,798, and Darth Maul sitting at the very bottom of 9,983. Bane sits at 11,929, so nothing that amazing. Another horrible attribute of Cad Bane is that his average protection his protection actually sits way below the average. The average is about 15,821, with Sun Fac being at 30,032, and Darth Maul once more sitting at the bottom at 8,659. Bane sits at 10,258, which is quite similar to his health. So between his health and his protection, without any mods being considered, he is only sitting at about 20,000 in total, which is quite low in the game. Now, he is also in the bottom 25% of armor, so kind of building upon the past two negative attributes, he is going to be taking some heavy damage from the enemy, which in turn will let him die quite quickly. So the average in this game in terms of armor is 204, with Obi-Wan Kenobi being the strongest wall at 393, and Emperor Palpatine being the frailest of them all at 121. Cad Bane is seen at 172. So he has quite interesting balance between, not even a balance, but you can tell that on each side there are some heavy things that really bring him back and forth. Yeah, he's got some high physical damage, and he's also got some decent potency, but at the same time he is quite slow and he is quite weak and doesn't have enough defense to keep him alive. But we'll talk more about that in a second. I want to move on to his kit, and it is an interesting one with a variety of anti-Jedi buffs, and he also has unavoidable attacks and even bonus attacks that he could possibly come off with. The first one is Gunslinger, which is his basic attack, and this is where the bonus attacks come in. His damage output for this is roughly 4,359 to 4,817, and essentially this attack deals physical damage to an enemy with a 55% chance to attack again. And then also, if Omega, he has a 50% chance to gain 15% turn meter with each attack, which is quite nice. So very Princess Leia-like. He will get at most 2 attacks, and these are quite strong attacks as well. The next one, which is quite nice, is that he can deal unavoidable damage to a character, and he's guaranteed a stun, assuming tenacity is not high on the enemy. And he also has a 40% turn meter reduction on non-Jedi enemies and 100% turn meter reduction on Jedi enemies. Now moving on to his leader ability, Hunter's Reflexes, greatly reflects his abilities in the Clone Wars cartoon series, and that is he is able to evade his Jedi as well as authorities when they're coming after him. And essentially this ability grants evasion bonuses to only scoundrels, very similar to Maul and Old Ben, where that he grants a 20% evasion bonus, and upon evasion he grants 25% turn meter bonuses to that ally. Now lastly, his unique ability, which keeps building upon his specialties against Jedi, is called Jedi Hunter, and this is a unique ability which gives Cad Bane a plus 35% critical chance and a 20% critical damage rating when facing Jedi. So if you are facing a lot of Jedi, Cad Bane will do the job and knock out a lot of those Jedi due to the fact that he has a high damage output when facing them. Now moving on to gear requirements, how is it going to be when you gear him up? If you love Cad Bane, here's what you need to know in terms of gearing him up. He's in the top 25% in terms of credits requirements to gear. So the average credit requirement to gear up characters is about 370,000, with Chewbacca being the monster at 500,000 credits needed, and Ewok Elder being the most frugal at around 250,000. We can find Cad Bane at 423,000 credits needed to get him to his maximum gear. And what is his maximum gear level? Well, it's gear 10, and he needs 3 pieces of raid gear to get there, and he needs quite an assortment. But the requirement is usually roughly 2 to 3 for most characters, so he sits kind of right on that average, with the most being Gunray, Boba Fett, and Ugnaught needing 6 pieces of raid gear. We need a couple things in order to get him to gear 10. You need a Mach 5 Fusion Furnace, you need a Mach 7 Nubian Scanner, and a Mach 6 Nubian Design Tech. So a couple things, and it's not all the same kind. Moving on, in terms of getting purple gear, he is roughly in the top 25% in purple gear requirements, with Sunfac being the one who loves his purple gear at 1,100, and Palpatine being the most frugal with purple gear at 260. Bane needs 880, and we usually see the average for purple gear being 719, so he is above that average. When it comes to blue, green, and white gear, there is nothing unique to report here. He doesn't need too much of something, he doesn't need too little of something, unlike some other characters in this game, so we will move on beyond this. So let's go ahead and talk about some random tips, info, and setup recommendations that I would give for Cad Bane if you need to use him. Number 1 is that he is a very easy character to farm shards through Galactic War, and at the same time he is very useful for the credit and droid heist. As you know, scoundrels are actually quite needed nowadays if you want to get a lot of droids and if you want to get millions and millions of credits. And in case you are getting him but you don't want to get him to his max gear, I can tell you that he is very viable at gear 8 with these particular events as well as the mod challenge table, so no need to go above and beyond if you want to make sure he's successful. Gear 8 should be sufficient for all those specific scoundrel events. Although his leader ability is nice, it will not be seen in the current meta of the game, mainly because of his leader ability and his kit, as well as his drawbacks. You won't see him too often in arena, and if you ever do see him being in a scoundrel lineup, you might see characters like IG-88 or Lando lead the way because they serve as better leader abilities over Cad Bane. Now, in terms of mod tips, if you really want to use him, I would actually recommend getting some critical chance as well as critical damage mods. He has a high critical damage rating as well as high physical damage, so if you can multiply that, he can do some really serious damage when his turn comes around. If you also want to get health mods, that definitely will not go unnoticed. However, if you get health based mods, you will not see a huge bonus in terms of percentages due to the fact he has low protection and health. So you might be better off getting critical damage and critical chance mods because he already has a high number, and when you multiply that by a percentage, you get a much better output. And of course, if you're getting mods, pretty much like any other character in the game, you want to find mods that have a really good primary or secondary stat that has some good speed abilities in there, because he's a slow character and he needs the help with getting out there faster and doing some good damage. So let's go ahead, summarize Cad Bane, and then we will put him on our little ranking table. So to summarize, he boasts a lot of great attributes. He has high physical damage, he can stun, he has unavoidable attacks, he even has bonus attacks, and it's all great. However, this is drawn back by the fact that he has a very low defense, he's very slow, doesn't have a lot of health, doesn't have a lot of protection, which is a recipe for possible disaster, and he won't be viable in too many attributes in the game. But another thing is that I would actually recommend farming him solely for the scoundrel based events if you have completed the more important characters in Galactic War, like Captain Phasma, Luminara, so on and so forth. Cad Bane definitely serves as a good farm if you want to be successful in the droid heist and the credit heist and get lots and lots of money, which we all love in this game. So let's go ahead, pull up our little ranking table, and let's see where Cad Bane falls. So Emperor Palpatine is the Grand Master. We have Chief Nebbit at night. When we look at this table and consider everything, we are going to put Cad Bane in the Padawan status. Reason why we are not putting him in Youngling is because he does some pretty decent damage. He does boast some of the highest stats in the game, and he's also very needed for events like the for the credit heist as well as the training droid heist, so he can help you get a lot of return on investment in this game. But you won't see him in many other attributes in this game, mainly because he's slow, he's got a very low defense, very low protection and health, and it's not a good combination, which does not work in a lot of lineups. However, a small rework may actually make him very viable. If we can address speed, protection, or health, he may as well be a very useful character in this game. Little details make a huge difference in characters for this game here. So guys, let me know what you think. Do you think he belongs in the Padawan status, or should he be somewhere else? You guys let me know. And in case you did not watch my previous video with some EA news and how they contacted me, I actually created a Discord chat so you guys can join that chat room, talk amongst yourself, talk with my guild members. And I also left 2 polls for you guys to go ahead and submit some questions and feedback you want me to share with the developers and when I interview the producer one day. But besides that, guys, leave a like, comment down below on what you think about this video, as well as future characters you want me to address. Subscribe, guys, and as always, we'll talk again later. Peace out.